All right, good afternoon, everybody. We're going to get started here in a minute. We just want to make sure that we can get a sound check for the clinicians first. After we make sure that everybody can be heard, then we will go ahead and get started. I want to thank Dr. Pollard for his attendance here, as well as point out some of the other collegiate directors that we have here. I can see on my screen that we have Mr. Warren Shaw. If you're not familiar with Mr. Warren Shaw, please make yourself familiar with him. He is one of the more prolific arrangers as far as selling his arrangements and things of that nature. So if you don't know him and if you don't know Dr. Pollard, that might be something that you might want to consider your homework going forward. But I just want to make sure that we can all hear who we have on at this time.
All right. When are we starting?
We're going to start here in approximately 1 minute. I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself. Um, and then I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to provide a little bit of information about yourself and then allow you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your favorite arrangements and things of that nature that you've produced, not only at Texas Southern, but, in your position as director of bands at Bel Air. Um, and then we'll get into some of the questions that we have. So yeah, probably within the next minute.
Okay, good deal.
If you need other time to prepare or anything of that nature, though, we can.
I'm good, brother. Whenever you all are ready.
Okay.
I see some familiar names on here. What's up, Warren Shaw? What's up, Jeremy? How y'all fellas doing, man?
How you doing, bro?
Good, pretty good.
Good evening, Dr. Pollard. Just come along to hear what you got to say tonight. I'm sitting in the background.
Oh man, I ain't talking about too much.
Alrighty, here we're at our 5 o'clock mark. So I want to thank everybody who has gotten online, and we are expecting some more once they realize that the link was sent if that was a hyperlink in their email. As soon as they realize that, then we can expect some more to get on. Um, My name is Shernyardis Daniels. I am a junior middle grades education major at North Carolina Central University, student arranger. I have a few pieces in the book here at North Carolina Central, um, including, some rap tunes, but I'm trying to diversify and things of that nature. I also served as the chief arranger at Hillside High School here in Durham, or there in Durham, North Carolina. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I also served as the chief arranger at Dr. Martin Luther King College Preparatory High School, which is why I'm kind of familiar with Mr. Shaw there because we played a number of his arrangements during my come up as far as high school is concerned. Um, the background from this event, what I found surveying and seeing a lot of student arrangers and being a part of the Sound Machine Student Arranger Committee is that we lack a lot of some of the fundamentals. This is from that high school to collegiate level that we should be tacking on as we, learn and explore this craft. And so in that, I found it appropriate to kind of bridge that gap, hence the name, bridge that gap between your collegiate directors and arrangers and the students who intend to be in those same positions. In that, the intent for today was that you would understand some of the more basic and borderline, simplistic or elementary or, fundamentals to arranging. The things that you should know coming out the gate. And if you haven't learned those things, not that it's a problem, but that you have the opportunity to learn those things today. So I'm going to present Dr. Pollard, and we have one more special guest coming on a little later. I'm going to present Dr. Pollard with some questions, and we're going to have some dialogue, and we're going to even allow some interaction from the audience But we're going to ask him a number of questions and get his opinions and his point of views on these things as far as arranging is concerned. So I'm going to actually ask that Dr. Pollard introduce himself. You know, your story, your first arrangement, or where you started arranging, and then where that's taking you now, and what your favorite arrangements are.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Javon Pollard Sr. I currently serve as the Associate Director of Bands at Texas Southern University. Um, and I think a little bit about myself. I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. My primary instrument is trumpet. I'm pretty fluent on most instruments, but that's the instrument that I play professionally. And just a little bit about my musical journey. I started playing trumpet roughly around the seventh grade. If you all know anything of, you are familiar with the New Orleans culture, we started as soon as 4 and 5 years old. I pretty much got a late start. For some would consider seventh grade an early start, but the culture I came up in, that's pretty late. I went to Fantasy Withers Middle School, then I went on to go to Saratoga Senior High School. From there, I received both my bachelor's and my master's degree from Southern University, right there in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where I served as section leader and things of that nature. Then I went on to get my doctoral degree in music education from Liberty University. So that's a brief introduction of myself. Um, so yeah, I see Mr. Alexander, Jonathan, Antonio. What's going on, my brother?
Hey, what's going on, Dr. Pollard?
Nothing much.
Beautiful. And that's actually who I'd asked to come on as well, Mr. Alexander. So I appreciate your attendance here today, sir. Thank you. Um, and I'm going to ask because I asked him to join and provide his insight as well. Um, so I'm going to ask in just a brief moment that he introduce himself. I'm going to run a few questions by both of you guys in just a second. So, Mr. Alexander, if you have some, just your backstory, where your come up as far as arranging is concerned, and I've done my research, so where did you get your it's a beautiful thing because you have Dr. Pollard from Southern, and then you have Mr. Alexander from Jackson State as alum, and then they come together to create such a beautiful thing at Texas Southern. And so, if you could just introduce yourself, and things of that nature, maybe your favorite arrangement that you've had played.
Hey, Antonio Alexander, graduate of Jackson State University, and one of the co-founders of Georgia Mass Band and one of the assistant directors at Texas Southern. I'll say it's hard to pick my favorite arrangement, but I guess the one that meant the most to me was the Lion King, King of Pride Rock, just because I'm a big Lion King fan. So that was actually a good project, and it was like the start of what I do now. So that one holds a special spot for me.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir. And again, welcome and thank you for coming on. So my question to both of you guys, and this really is an important thing, as alumnus of two different universities and where you're both employed, how do you guys shift your style or what you're used to hearing as far as your university is concerned, to write in a way that's going to accommodate what people are used to hearing from the place you work now?
Um, I guess I can go first. For me, coming from Southern University to Texas Southern, um, honestly, it's not that much of a difference since that we're in the same conference, that being the SWAC conference, where the demand is very high, and most bands play with I would call it a more aggressive sound. So in terms of what I do musically, I didn't have to make too many shifts. The biggest thing for me was just understanding the culture at Texas Southern and just instrumentation as well. That's a big factor. And that's something we're going to be talking about in a little later in dialogue. But for me, it wasn't such a big culture shock arranging for Texas Southern coming from Southern University.
Gotcha. Thank you. And Mr. Alexander, as an alumnus of Jackson State, um, which again is in the same conference, but how did that shift go for you? And how did you accommodate that need or potential need to shift?
Well, I guess I was in a special predicament being from Georgia. Uh, Traditionally, we do have a different style over in Georgia. So I guess that was just able to, I guess the middle ground going from arranging for Jackson State to going to Georgia Mass Band, then going to Texas Southern had a good diversity from like just straight up swag style to like kind of, I guess you could say maybe a hybrid or something. So honestly, I just kind of took that over with me to Texas Southern and just nurtured it and tweaked it as it went. Just different skill levels, different talents, different backgrounds.
Gotcha. And that is very important. One thing that and this is coming from a perspective of a student arranger, that is very important is not understanding that you have to kind of make a little bit of changes, and you should grow often. You should grow and change, not change, but in a negative light, but you should grow and make progress every day, including in arranging. I find myself on my arranger software changing my sounds so that I can hear different things every time. But moving forward, we have to ask the question about driving. How would you say that you go about making sure that your band stays on top of their musicality through your arrangements? How would you say you drive their musicality or their skill in your arrangements?
Um, do I go first? Is there any particular order?
There's no particular order. If you have your ideas or your thoughts ready.
For me, the biggest thing I tell the young arrangers when they reach out to me is the outside of just Finale and Musical and whatever other software you use. That's a great platform. But I always empower those kids, those young men and women to get some experience teaching because the one thing about those softwares is they tend to I wouldn't call them a cheat code, but it's almost like fantasy, man. Whatever you put in those software programs, that software is going to spit that back out. So I'm always empowering students to get some experience actually teaching. I used to do this series called Teaching in the Trenches, but just getting some experience actually teaching students because the biggest downfall is to have an amazing arrangement but can't convey it on a podium. So for me, just having the ability, one, to galvanize students, and two, to be able to teach teach students the essence of what you're actually trying to do musically. So I think for me the biggest thing is just being able to be being able to teach. Again, arrangement side is writing the music is great, but you have to be able to convey that music and teach it as well.
Indeed, Mr. Alexander.
Yeah, I agree with what he said as well. Another thing is also just retention and knowing who's in a room. So any ensemble, you're always gonna have your freshmen or vets or just you're always gonna have people that you're gonna continue to see their face, and so you're not supposed to dial it back for anybody. Honestly, that's just how I feel. So like, if I'm teaching and we worked hard, like let's just use Georgia Mass Band because I just getting off of that season, and I'm seeing a whole room of vets, and we went over these rhythms the whole first week. Now some other people might have been on vacation and joined in. I'm not going backwards because the standard is already set. And that's very important if you look to grow just your ensemble and even push yourself to grow because when your musicians are better, your arrangements can get better as well. So that's very important.
Indeed. Thank you both for your answers. Now I'm going to try to get into a little bit of some of our more simple questions. Um, Simple in the fact that they are not necessarily anything about any intricate arranging techniques, just, some questions that people usually have getting into the process and the art of arranging. So, one question that I've heard often is what defines a quality arrangement? Um, and of course that is a term that is subjective, because quality, some people don't find rap arrangements to be quality arrangements. So in your guys' opinions, having written ballads and having written rap tunes and things of that nature and everything in between, what defines a quality arrangement in your opinion?
In its simplest form, we talk about right notes, obviously right rhythms, um, So we talk about melody, making sure the melody is correct, making sure the chords are correct, making sure the bass line flows with the music in its simplest form. Now, to go a little bit further, just clear for me what defines a quality arrangement. Again, we all know that that's subjective. We all like what we like, right? But clear voice leading and the strengths of the band program, or whether you're writing for, because sometimes we listen to bands and sometimes we hear that the arrangement could have been good, but you wrote this for a different band. So, just being able to make sure that you write for the ensemble that you have, not the one that you necessarily want right now. So for me, the what makes a quality arrangement is one that's again in the simplest form, right rhythms, right notes. We can clearly distinct what the music is. We can follow along with it. It tells it has its own story it's telling. So for me, it's again in the simplest form. That's what makes a good quality arrangement for me. Not it's not always all of the extra nuances that we put in music, even though it's good, but in its simplest form, right rhythms, right notes, melody versus counter melody fits the bass line, chords match the song. So that would be the answer for me.
Agreed. Um, and I'm not going to necessarily have you guys answer the same exact questions just so that we can, because we understand, I think once you're pretty sound musically, that you're going to agree on some of those points. Now, Mr. Alexander, I'm going to give you a chance to answer that same question. Um, but I just wanted to provide that caveat that further down the line, I will ask you guys differing questions.
Okay. Mine's a little, I could agree with a lot of things Dr. Fowler said. As far as for me, once you get into music and just like liberal arts is usually subjective, I believe in being deliberate in what you're writing. So that goes with just knowing your band as well. Like a quality arrangement to me is knowing what you're writing, who you're writing it for. Because a lot of times some people might write some stuff and you're like, what are they trying to achieve with this arrangement? Like it just sounds like, they're just trying to be loud in arrangement. That's not deliberate. You're just putting stuff there. So I like to hear like, oh, they wanted to you wanted this arrangement to be ignorant, and I can tell that's what you went for. Versus, oh, I don't understand what I'm doing on paper, so I'm just gonna write a bunch of loud or high stuff. So just being deliberate in what you do is what makes it quality to me for the most part.
Gotcha. And I agreed. Um, Following up on exactly what you said when you said something about an ignorant arrangement, not that, you know, the arranger is ignorant or anything like that, but when you hear those terms, ignorant arrangement or, loud, because that's the time we're in now. So you're going to hear a lot of people say that that's what they were going for. As arrangers of a program that is comprehensive, your program has a concert band or a symphonic band season, and you try to have that roll over into the marching band season. How would you guys respond to that being the intent of an arrangement? So if a student came to you today and said, Dr. Pollard or Mr. Alexander, my goal for this arrangement was to be ignorant. What is your response to that to that statement?
Uh, that happens pretty often. I always tell the kids about just making sure that they're not bastardizing the instruments, right? Sometimes some of the most bastardized instruments I see now in terms of just like what students are doing musically on paper, baritone and mellophone. I some of the stuff that I see now is just it's a lot different than what I'm used to. So oftentimes when kids come to me and they're telling me their intent is for the song to be quote unquote ignorant, I try to make that a teachable moment for them. Because again, as I stated early on, we're in a very demanding conference where oftentimes you hear more fortissimo than you hear mezzo piano, mezzo forte, and things of that nature. So when students come to me about the whole idea of writing an ignorant song, I just try to educate them. I just try to tell them about hills and valleys, about dynamics can play a factor in all that as well. Everything doesn't just have to be through the roof. You can have some musical interpretation moments, and still have your moments where the band opens up. But yeah, for me, I just use that as a teachable moment.
Gotcha. And Mr. Alexander, and this is more so on mine because when you hear, so I want you to answer it with this in mind when you hear this and you think of like mass bands, where a lot of the intention behind a lot of mass bands are to be that source of, how do I say this? Ignorance, if for lack of better terms. I mean, that's their goal. How do you respond to that as an arranger in a program that prides itself in being a musically sound program? How do you respond to that, Mr. Alexander?
Uh, I'll say there's always going to be a market. So you'll have people who just specifically want to hear that stuff, and it's okay. At times and times, like I can enjoy a good, ignorant song from time to time too. But as Dr. Potter was saying, you have to have teachable moments. Some places, just different musicians play a part in it. Like every one of your songs are like that. That band, if they don't have the players for it, they're gonna start running out of steam. And so if you're just trying to get in and you just get into any type of ensemble, you expect them to just play all those notes like it's a keyboard, you're gonna be disappointed more often than not. So it's usually a teachable moment. Like definitely being over Georgia Mass Band, it's a teachable moment too. Just letting them know, like, hey, what one band might do, we per se, it just wouldn't benefit us to do it. We're just putting ourselves in somebody else's element, and that's when you find yourself at a disadvantage most of the time.
Definitely agree. So
I,
now, oh,
I
sorry, go ahead.
I would agree. I would agree with Mr. Alexander. And for me, the idea of mass bands, I think they've gotten a lot better. I hear some of the stuff that Georgia played, New Orleans, Memphis, Dallas, you name it. And a lot of these programs now, man, they're doing some really good things musically. So I'm actually a fan of mass bands. I enjoy it.
Agreed. Coming from a city where not to say anything about Chicago Mass Band or what's going on with that, but coming from a city where it's not as popular, it is something that I definitely enjoy seeing. Um, I don't know about the experiences of being in one, but I definitely enjoy seeing it. Um, Now, this is a question that's going to and I'm actually glad that we have Mr. Shaw here, just because this is a little bit of his element as well. When it comes to writing for varying skill levels, as I said, that there it comes a point in time as a student arranger where you make that transition because me personally, I started arranging my sophomore year of high school, and now I'm going into my junior year of college, and so I've obviously had to make that transition. How would you or what information would you provide to students trying to make that transition and writing for varying degrees of skill? I'm no longer writing for my high school band where, maybe we can't play this, and this, but now I'm in college. And how do you advise them about going about that change?
Is that a question for Warren Shaw or any of us?
That's a question for you guys. I just wanted to give him his props in that question.
For me, what I used to do when I was a high school band director was I almost had different versions of arrangements. So, for example, I always met my students where they were, right? So, for my more advanced students, especially on trumpet or mellophone or baritone, they would have the melody because they were able to do that. And then for my beginners or my lower level students, I would give them chords or half notes or quarter notes, something to keep them actively engaged but still working. So I think the one of the biggest things to do when you're arranging for different skill levels, the most important thing is the key word is skill level. So you have to meet the students where they actually are. And then you'll find that you'll be listening to your band as time grows. Like for me, when I was at high school level, I would give my beginner trumpet players and baritones and mellophones whole notes and half notes. Well, somewhere throughout the season, those whole notes and half notes became too loud for what we were doing. So we had to raise the bar a little bit with them. So that told me that they were getting a little bit better. So one of the biggest things to do is just have variations of whatever song you're playing. So sometimes it may sound odd in the beginning, but you may have to have a trumpet player playing whole notes on every song or quarter notes until they can reach the level that you need them to be at, while still pushing the students who can play by giving them the melody and counter melodies. So for me, it's create different versions, considering like youth versus college, who you're writing for. Um, and for high school, I used to do a lot of more unison things, simplified rhythms that's playable. The range wasn't as high, whereas college, it's full texture. It extends the different harmonies and the syncopated rhythms, things of that nature. So for me, just making sure I had different versions for the students as they grew with the program. And I know Warren Shaw can probably speak on this a lot because that gentleman has been writing some really good stuff for a very long time for different groups.
Well, Mr. Shaw, I hate to put you on the spot, but if ever you want to, jump in and chime in, the floor is yours. Um, and an addendum, Miss Alexander, if you have an answer to that same question, the floor is yours.
Now I say, you hit that right on the head. Have different versions of everything. Like, while it might suck having a right French horn, I'm a French horn player, so it might suck having French horns playing whole notes the whole song. But that's what your ensemble size and just the skill level just calls for. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the overall project, the ensemble. So, like, for Georgia Mass Band, it's cool writing what 6 trombone parts, 8 mellow parts, all these split things we do. But if I have to switch over to a different ensemble, maybe a high school of like 50 people in the ensemble, you got to do what you got to do. And then sometimes different skill levels of the instruments matter. Like, you need to hear your melody. A lot of times people want to get a melody to the trumpet section, but the trumpet section might not be able to carry it. So you might have to double them. The trumpets might be upset with that, but you just got to do what you have to do for the ensemble. Because at the end of the day, that's the product that everyone's going to hear. So,
Indeed. And before I move off this question, Mr. Shaw, do you have any advice, or are we good to go?
I feel like these two gentlemen have covered pretty much everything I would normally discuss on my end, but just also at the same time, uh, yeah, like we have a tendency to go through and, like I said, we write for the dream ensemble that we want to have, but we don't work concern ourselves with the ensemble in front of us. Because, like I said, you may want to do counter melodies in your music, but the main thing you want to make sure is you got your melody, your bass line, and your underlying chords. And anything else after that, is just kind of like the icing on the cake. And that was something I actually learned from Lindsay Sargent. So, like I said, I try to kind of go with that 3 line approach to make sure that I have my melody, my chords, and my bass line, and then anything else will pretty much go after that.
Gotcha. And I appreciate you. I know you say you were observing, but when you got the knowledge, sir. Um, and in that, I wanted to discuss one thing that a lot of students in here have a question about, which is creating a marketable arrangement. And that's a whole thing in and of itself. So the question at hand is, what makes an arrangement appeal to an ensemble? Now, this normally would be a question that the band could answer, but because we understand that you guys write and a lot of your pieces we love, if not all of them, it's just like we don't know all of the things that you've written, but because we love so many of your pieces, what do you do? What do you think of when you're writing that makes the ensemble really gravitate towards your piece?
Um, for me, so we know that these students now they're a lot different, man. You gotta get their attention very fast, very extremely fast. So making sure that the pieces, the playability of it, like don't frustrate the students with these rhythms Like we always teach 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 but when we pass our music, it's dotted 30-second notes followed by 64 notes. And sometimes the rap tunes have some weird rhythms, but if you really want to get your music out there and you want the kids to buy in, you almost have to get their attention with the music quick. So again, for me, it would be, making sure you check your notation, because that's really key. Sometimes the kids don't understand the rhythm; they don't even like the song no more. So you've already lost their interest. One of the other things is like recognize is the song recognizable to the students? Is it something they know or something that they can feel or something that their parents heard? So is that something that the kids can relate to? And then having some strong impact moments. Um, Along with like room for solos and different things that the kids enjoy doing anyway. So what I find myself doing is I sometimes your best ideas come from when you see the kids in sections or walking around playing the instruments because they play stuff that we don't typically know that they can do. So once you hear it, different ideas, you get those ideas flowing. Sometimes it's just good to put it in the music because they're gonna play it anyway. So so for me, what makes the arrangement appealing is one, the buy-in of the students, and then getting it over to them in a relatively fast way. I'm not saying they have to play the whole song day one, but it needs to be something they can be excited about. So that's my take on that. And again, just making sure that it's something that's readers friendly, man. So often we get these music or these kids send us scores to look at their music, and I can't clock the rhythms. So I know the students are going to struggle with it. So those are some of the things that will make the music appealing for the ensemble for me.
Got you. Thank you. And Mr. Alexander, um, this question is somewhat more so for mass band because it's summer. Okay, so I know a lot of people, a lot of some bands at least get their ideas from summer bands. But you guys, especially like specifically Georgia Mass Band, actually, you guys go and pull. I mean, we enjoyed your book, specifically maybe like that. You played Summer Madness or things of that nature, where the songs aren't necessarily new, but they still appeal to the listener. What are you thinking about when you're writing that song or those songs that say this is going to get them, this is going to make them buy into this song?
I like to basically anything I write or I start arranging and writing. I like to think of like, okay, the song might be good to me, but that's just me. So you want to do your best to make the song relevant to others who may have not heard that song. So Summer Madness was popular in its time. Some people don't know about its name, but when you play it, they're like, "Oh, that's Summer Madness." Because some of the people in the band didn't even know what Summer Madness was. But as the arranger, I believe it's my job to make it relevant. Like, why should people care about Summer Madness? Or let's go back to like other years, like songs like "So Be It," like some of the songs that people don't know what it is at all. What why do people care about it? So my job is to make sure they care about it, and I do that through storytelling. So I like to have all these things that lead up to it, like Summer Madness, for example. Like when you hear Summer Madness at ba 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 ba, like that's the first thing I think about. So you do that. I had trombones get that. Let them sing out on that, and already instantly me listening to it, I'm getting chills on my way to Summer Madness. Now, how do I connect it all together to make it important? What can I do? Because a song could be flat at times. So you just keep having, like Dr. Potter said, you have moments to keep the story moving, keep it impactful. Then you go to the solo. So now I go back to the essence of the song, which is like a jazz song. You have solos. I get a solo out. You just keep moving it on. And Summer Madness actually took me a second to do because I just couldn't figure out how to piece it together. Like, how can I keep it sounding like the song, but also keep it relevant, keep people intrigued on it? And one of the impact moments I went for, you had an octave hops in there. And so, that's something people are listening for. You don't do the octave hops, people are like, yeah, nah, they kind of cheaped out of it. So fortunately, we had a talented enough section on trumpets to give me what I needed. That was a big part of rehearsal. Like, hey man, y'all got to be able to do this. You can't cheat it. You can't do all these rearticulations. You got to hold this note out and just be a grown player about it. So really, just making a listener care about the song that you might like that they might not even know existed.
Gotcha. Agreed. So now, as you guys are arrangers and you guys write so much music, and I mean, I'm sure if a student showed you a song, you could write that same song, probably not the same way they wrote it, but you could write it. What appeals to you guys as arrangers? What gives you a spark in your mind when you hear another person's arrangement, and that's like, okay, there is some potential here. This could be something.
So for me, I what gets my attention instantly is their level of creativity. Like the reharmonization, the rehits, like those different layers. I'm starting to like now a lot of directors are moving with these very intricate, like different tuba parts where they got the tubas doing two different things at the same time now, and then they have the trombones doing a lot of intricate stuff. Sometimes the trombones can do a little bit too much, but in general, for me, what makes me like an arrangement is the level of creativity. I'm a trumpet player, so any riffs or anything they got trumpets doing, I'm a fan of it. So and then just clean notation as well too. Like just making sure that we make the main thing the main thing. Sometimes when we listen to these arrangements, we don't know the melody versus the counter melody because it gets convoluted. It's sometimes oftentimes these guys they write so much for man. I wonder if people gonna like this. I wonder if they're gonna like that. I wonder if I need more. Sometimes less is more too, man. So sometimes I like just the vibe of the actual song itself. Write the music, put your little spin to it, but just stay out the way. Keep the main thing. So for me, the biggest thing though is the level of creativity. And then second will be all those different. I like a lot of like passing tones and color and things of that nature. So those are some things that I enjoy. And now I'm starting to like the variations of what the trombones are doing, and then the different nuances that they have tubas doing now. And I heard a lot of that with the mass band. I like it, and it gets me thinking like, okay, these are some really good ideas. So it keeps me sharp.
Got you. And Mr. Alexander, as both a mass band and collegiate, director, my question is there ever a time where you say or you find yourself writing what you think would like, okay, that would be good for mass band, but you're writing that for collegiate band? And how do you kind of separate the two? Because I understand, you work you two the both the programs where you're affiliated with are very comprehensive and very musically sound programs. So how do you differentiate what you should bring into the fall versus what you should leave in the summer?
That's actually a really good question. That's usually tough a lot of times. And it's funny because a lot of the students are like, hey, oh man, like, it's funny because some of the members are like, hey, bring this to the summer. And others are like, hey, bring this to the fall. And some people from the summer have recommended songs that I end up taking to the fall. And so it kind of just something I could kind of feel like, I feel like this song would be better off in the summer versus the fall where you get a lot more opportunities because during the fall you have your zero quarter, you have the touchdown timeout tunes, you have a field show, you have those tunes, you had a fifth quarter, so you get so much more opportunity to get a lot more diversity versus the summer. Like a lot of times, the summer kind of almost has this feel like it has to be hot and ready. Like it can't take too long to cook a lot of times. Now that's still subjective though, because I still have done songs that took a little second to, tell the story. But it just depends. Like you gotta ask, like these people in the summer, they're coming, like, will they care about this song that's like 50 beats per measure and it's not really moving anywhere? And you could probably throw that somewhere in a field song for like a flag feature or something.
Yeah, I agree.
Gotcha. And so in that, and this is for both yourself, Mr. Alexander, and Dr. Pollard. Um, this is more so of a just a funny question in a way. When you guys are preparing to see your respective alma maters, The arrangements that you guys are putting on the podium at that time, are they any more challenging, or you know, what is your thought process in arranging for that particular game? So I guess for Texas Southern, I think versus Southern is the Merck City Classic, and I'm not sure if and I don't even know if that's the name that actually is, but what is your thought process when you're getting ready to see the school that you attended across the field?
For me, it's so odd because outside of going to Southern, I taught in Baton Rouge for 16 years, so I saw that band, man, every other day. Like my high school was literally 10 minutes away from Southern University. But in terms of like preparation into the Southern game, because we have quite a few people who write. Really, we just put out what we think is going to be the best music for that particular week, regardless if it's Southern Jackson, FAMU, Alabama State, whoever. So now, obviously, we all have our personal projects and things that we just really, really, really want to do. Like for me, like going into the Southern game, there might be a song that I'm adamant about playing. Maybe Mr. Antonio is the same way about Jackson. But in totality, we just kind of go with like what the band is currently. Because our schedule is demanding too. We see bands down there every week. So we kind of go with what we have out already, what we still have cooking, what's ready. Um, so that's kind of our approach to it. I know people might be like, oh wow, that's crazy. We would think with all y'all being mostly our staff being Southern guys, not most, but we have quite a few being Southern, we would take that game so personal. But it's really not. It's really more fun than personal for the staff. So every now and then there may be a particular project we're working on, but I don't think it's like oh, this Southern, I'm gonna write Fifth of Beethoven, I'm gonna do this for Southern. No, it's whatever I got out right now and whatever is like really, really ready.
Gotcha. Um, okay, so we're gonna go a little bit into making your arrangement marketable. So now this is a tricky question because as arrangers, with programs that play your arrangements, the first question is just a simple, do you guys also sell your arrangements? And then there will be questions to follow.
For me, I used to give them away until people started offering to pay for them. It's really that simple. That's how the whole idea of paying me for arrangement. I used to just tell guys when they wanted to pay me, hey man, you could bless me with something if you want to. But then I went to an arranger's workshop, and then people was like, man, nah, you do need to sell them. So I think it's an individual case by case thing. I'm not the biggest person on selling arrangements. Um, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I just started doing that in recent years, actually being compensated for my arrangement because a lot of them used to just go off for free, and then sometimes people used to play them without me giving it to them at all. So I don't know if they just went on YouTube and just listen and copy and paste or what. But yeah, that's where I'm at on it.
Gotcha. And Mr. Alexander, do you sell your arrangements?
Um, Actually, it's funny because Dr. Potter was one of the a good mentor and getting me to do such a thing, and both ways. Because and like he told me he took one of my songs. It's hilarious. Once upon a time, and that's that one time, and then but also just hearing like he's selling songs. Everybody around me is selling songs, and I'm just giving them out for free a lot of times. So I used to give them out for free. Then the more I develop my identity and just my tricks and secrets and stuff. Now, just like I need to hone that, keep it more to myself. You know, but like yeah, some I used to think a lot of times like oh like this is literally easy. Like somebody could just hear. I personally, some of the songs I hear, I'm just like oh, if I really want that arrangement, I just write it. But I think that was just a bad way of thinking of things. Like you know. You're working hard on these arrangements. This is like one of the things Dr. Potter was telling me. You're working hard. Like you sitting down sometimes hours on an arrangement. So, this is your craft, your livelihood. So I definitely think people, I definitely started selling for that and I think people should sell their arrangements. It's something you cherish and you spend a lot of time on. So definitely, get your money worth.
And if I can, let me add on to this. Before I knew who Mr. Alexander was, I played one of his songs when I was a high school band director. I never even knew he wrote the song. My kids actually learned it on their own, and they kept bugging me about this song called "Scared of the Dark" that Jackson State played. Now, mind you, at that time, I'm big time Southern, right? I'm like, I'm not playing with Jackson State music. So, but the kids, they actually learned it on their own, and again, I played that man arrangement. I think I still owe him about $50 for it because we played it probably that whole football season. Unbeknown, a few years later, I will actually work with the arranger. So that's a funny story, man. And when I met him, I just started telling him about, man, you put so much work into your craft, and then if you all pay attention to what Mr. Alexander does is he does a lot of very intricate pieces. And some of the pieces that he played, if you was on J.W. Peppers, all these big time sites, you would pay them for it. So, that's kind of how he and I had that discussion.
Agreed. And so this is a question. Also, I just want to add this information a little bit later on is when we'll get into the actual, you know, outside of the agreed upon questions, we're going to get into some of the questions that some of the attendees are actually asking. So I don't want anybody to get impatient. We're going to get there soon. Uh, but this is a question for Mr. Alexander. Mr. Alexander, as a student of Jackson State, in a very this is more so as a student of Jackson State. Number one, I'm not sure exactly how true or not this is. From what I'm reading, is it? Did you study music at Jackson?
No, I'm actually a graphic design major.
And so that's they're going into the next question. As a person who's not a music major, and so not exposed all the time. I mean, I know you're in band, but not consistently exposed to, you're taking theory classes, you're taking, sight singing and ear training and things of that nature. How did you really hone and tailor your craft to not only lead a very prolific summer band program and start that, um, but also become an assistant director at a university where the band program is renowned. How did you manage that as a student and also kind of you know go about some of the things that you wanted to do in your life as far as your degree is concerned?
I definitely am thankful. I think I received an excellent gift of, just talent. I'm thankful for it. The way I kind of learn is just through listening. So uh I really just listen to band clips. It kind of sounds hilarious, but I used to like listen to like maybe I listen to Southern or I listen to Jackson, and like I'm listening hard now. I'm like, oh, what are baritones doing? What range is this? What voicing is this? Oh, where are mellows at? How many parts do they have? And so then I started writing music, and I'm just like, okay, so these sounds aren't matching up to what I thought they are. And you just keep going and you keep going until you're starting to get the sounds. And now you're like, I know what this sounds like when I do it this way. And so basically, I'm really just, I guess you could say, trial and error in a way, but really, I could just hear it when I'm on my keyboard. I just hear the stuff and I hear the vision I want to come out.
Gotcha. And would you recommend to some of the non-music, or what would you recommend to some of the non-music major arrangers? Any specific thing besides listening? Is there any other things, any other avenues that you've taken, um, or is that just like that listening is what really helped you?
I think everybody has something that they'll be strong at on their own. So I would just say ask questions. Like everybody has a skilled arranger around them for the most part. And if they don't, like reach out. I know a lot of people reach out to me. Sometimes I might be too busy, but I usually go out my way to try to listen to everything that gets sent to me. Just give the feedback I can. But if I get feedback, don't just let it be only my feedback. Go get feedback from somebody else because somebody else might have a style that might tailor more to you. So I just say just keep going at it, keep practicing, ask questions. Because sometimes a lot of rangers, like a lot of stuff that I'll get is like dictation. Their dictation is wrong to begin with. So if they were to pass out a song, the band would even be able to read it because the rhythmic dictation is just that's like one of the biggest things I see. So definitely ask questions like, hey, like, is this legible? Can this be read? And then when you get past that form, now you start getting a voicing, and then you start adding your own swagger to stuff. So really, just keep practicing. Take it from me, never did music theory, so just really keep working at it.
Gotcha. And so this is a question for Dr. Pollard, and this will be our final question before we go into some of the student or attendee submitted questions. It's only 10 of those, and then we'll go into our closing remarks, things of that nature. I don't want to keep you guys any longer than necessary. Um, the final question is how would you go about marketing your arrangements to these high school programs and these collegiate programs? And in a time where everybody wants to arrange or everybody is trying to arrange, how would you go about marketing your arrangements to these programs?
I guess some of the way that I would like people to would approach me is build like just build real relationships with band directors, especially the band directors in your area, the band directors in whom you can actually service like on demand. So building relationships, um, obviously social media has become a huge platform for most arrangers to put your stuff out there, and when I say put your stuff out there, like put it out there in a manner in which is going to be received in a professional way. Sometimes people might be like, I got that smoke, holler at me if you want this piece. Well, you're going to get that type of crowd. So knowing your audience, man, knowing who to appeal to. um uh, some of it is word of mouth too. Sometimes when you play one good song, or you send somebody a good song, and somebody hear it, they may be like, "Well, who wrote that song?" So word of mouth can help, and then just offer some of your scores to people to just to look at, and then you'll be surprised in offering just them the opportunity to listen to your score or your music. They may like it and want to use it. So those are some things that I think can that young arrangers can do to get their music out there. But definitely the best way for me it's gonna sound real old schoolish, but build relationships, man. Again, and social media probably would be second, only because you get to reach way more people. But that's key. Build those relationships, young directors, young arrangers. From there, get you a professional social media platform. If your whole goal is to solicit your arrangement, you want to galvanize them type of people. So get you a social media platform that's clean and professional, and then put your music out there. And don't necessarily put it out there with a price, but put it out there. Maybe you can list the charts that you have, and if band directors are interested in those particular songs, then y'all can talk offline. Word them out, then offering band directors the opportunity to look at your scores for free. So those are some things that I think is key in terms of marketing your arrangement. But again, it depends on the clientele you're looking for too. So if you haven't already, and this is the other thing for all of the young directors on here, man, if y'all haven't already diversified y'all resumes and y'all portfolios, start working on that and clean up your social media pages if you haven't done so as well. Because a lot of times, man, people are looking at your social media more than you know. So when you're posting, just be mindful that if nothing else, somebody of substance is going to see that. So a good arranger with bad attitude won't get your music out there. So that's my spill on that.
Thank you. And agreed. Now we're going to go into somewhat of, getting into your processes. And this is the student, because this is some of the attendee submitted questions. So the first question reads, what are some of your first steps when you're starting a new arrangement? I mean, what is your focus? The concept, groove or feel, voicings, melodies, bass line, things of that nature. And does this change depending on the type of songs or the arrangement?
So for me, I got to get a good feel of the music. I listen to it quite a bit just to get it in my spirit, and then once I kind of have because most of us we write music in our head, we hum it, we whistle it, whatever. So we march to it in a your neighboring store or in a car. So most times for me, like Mr. Antonio alluded to earlier, sometimes just listen to like the song itself, and then I just kind of like decide what I want to give to who, because the most important thing of an arrangement is the voicing, like who gets what and where and why. Again, just being intentional about what you're writing, as Mr. Antonio alluded to earlier. So for me, my process is I listen to the song maybe about 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000 times, because my ears are a little older than the younger guys. So I listen to it quite a bit. And some of the cheat code is, man, I listen to a lot of live music too. So if that song they performed it live, that's where you get a lot of really, really, really good ideas from, man. All those different little nuances and those hits and licks that you be hearing some of these university bands play. A lot of those stuff come from live performances. So I listen to it and then I decide I start listening for I play trumpet, so the melody for me is always easy. Like I have that's second nature. So I start listening to like the more in-depth stuff, the chords, the counter melody, because again the melody and the bass line is pretty easy for me to put on paper. So or in the computer rather if I'm using Finale. So that's kind of my process. Listening, figuring out what I want to give to who and why, and then boom, I just try to make as much magic as I can, in my opinion. So that's my process.
Thank you. Mr. Now, I'm sorry, I want to provide this caveat. Now, if you do have a question, I'm going to ask that you put it in the chat and then we can have them see it just so that we can also kind of keep going and flowing. Um, and I'm going to ask that Mr. Alexander, what is your thought process when it comes to starting an arrangement? I know generally they're kind of similar. You know, everybody kind of looks for one particular thing or a few particular things after hearing a song 80 billion times. But what is your particular process?
He listens to it one time and boom, he is right and it's done in 20 minutes.
That's actually what ended up happening to me. A lot of times, I just go ahead and nowadays I just go ahead and write the song because what happens to me, I like a song like it has a nice chord progression, has a good bass line. I'm hooked. But now I listen to it 10 times. I'm tired of hearing it. 15 times. Yeah, I don't like the song anymore. So like when I did The Boy Is Mine by Monica, I've actually obviously heard that song a lot more times, and I'm like, oh yeah, let me start this song. I do it on my playlist if I'm driving hours to and from a place. And by the time I get home, if it's like an hour drive, I no longer like the song. So I just get what I need and I stop listening to the song actually. So if I find a song I listen to, I stop listening to it after like 5 times, get home, get on my keyboard, and I make the magic happen. But I usually start with my make sure the chords are good, then a bass line, see what counter melodies I could come with. Like I do like a little rough playthrough on my keyboard, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a song I want to go for.
Got you. And that's actually going into the next question. Song selection. As arrangers, what processes or what do you listen for in a song to say this would make a good marching band arrangement? And that's any song, rap tunes, ballads, and anything in between.
Man, if you listen to Texas Southern University Band, I think we probably have one of the most bipolar and eclectic books of any other university, whether it be HBCU, PWI, whatever. So we all have a variation of stuff that we just like. So sometimes when we choosing song, we choosing around what's already out there. For example, if Antonio writes a rap song this week, well, I won't do it. And if I write a slow song, he probably won't do it that for that particular week. So when selecting music, we just kind of we pick what we like, and then in the grand scheme of things, we pick where it works or where it fits best for the actual ensemble. Like me, I'm a jazz artist by nature, so I like a lot of like jazz riffs. I like a lot of like disco stuff. I like a lot of Earth, Wind and Fire, Michael Jackson. But then I also like my trap music and my rap stuff. And then I also like, my Jasmine Sullivan and things of that nature. So um, I'm kind of eclectic when it comes to music because I like a whole bunch of everything.
Okay, gotcha. And I'm seeing some questions in the chat. So I'm not familiar if you guys actually do write percussion parts. Is that something you guys do when writing? Do you guys write percussion parts?
I used to. But then I found out that my percussion parts wasn't really hitting because my drummers were just kind of like, the stuff they do now in music, especially when it comes to drum parts, man, they be real intricate. So I kind of got away from it. But to answer your question, I used to in the past, but sometimes at this level, so much music goes out that sometimes we just let the drum instructor do what they do. And then we have a guy on staff who actually writes most of the percussion music out anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's understandable. So to answer your question, Mr. Mays, in the comments, um, that might be something in store. I want you to just hold tight because at the end we might have something for you. As far as that's concerned, um, I'm going to go and move forward. Instrument voicings. So the question is, how does instrument voicings and timbre play into the organization of melodies, harmonies, and chords when constructing arrangements? What are your creative techniques for developing lines that don't exist in the original song, i.e., trombone breaks and things of that nature?
Mr. Antonio, you want to go first or you want me to answer it?
Oh yeah. So for all of that, I think there's a happy median in all of that stuff. So a lot of times I like to use this funny argument that was going on maybe a year or two ago. But Dr. Pollard actually said something similar. Sometimes simplicity is key, and sometimes you do need to do a little more. So don't get so caught up in, oh, it feels like my song doesn't have a lot of stuff going on in it, or because sometimes the song might already be cooking, like being basic, and it did exactly what it needed to do. Other times you might need a few moving lines, a few counter melodies to push it along. And the voicing on that could just depend on what's going on. So like the little trombone break sometimes too. Like sometimes like when I do a trombone break, a whole lot of stuff marries together for me to find that identity of the trombone break. Like for Say My Grace, like that song just gave me like a real nasty trap vibe. So like when I listen to trap music, like you wanna blast the 808s in a car or whatever like that. So I kind of like just want to be bobbing my head to it. So I don't want to do too much in it. I want you to really feel the funk in the pocket of it. So I might just do like quarter notes, but I had a tubas doing the intricate spot. Or other times, the bass line is very like recognizable. So now you're like, okay, I don't want to move too far from the bass line. So now let me move into the trombone. So it really is just on a per song basis.
Yeah, I agree.
Gotcha. And so next question, just going right ahead. The question is, in situations where you have a time constraint and can't break down the concept in detail, how would you quickly make a group comfortable with denser harmonies or chords that they're not used to?
Um, so with that, again, so for an example, if we have multiple people writing music and everybody's trying to get their hour or 2 hours in, and you want the kids to, it's the question is, how do we get kids to listen to like dissonant sounds, or what's the question?
I guess the question is more so asking just, I guess it might be chord structures that they're not familiar with playing and things of that nature, harmonies that are a little foreign to the band. I'm not necessarily sure whom they're writing for, so I think it might be for a collegiate or sorry, a high school arranger. So I'm not
Uh,
entirely sure.
sometimes some of the best things to do is to break those different intricate notes or chords down, possibly in sections. So sometimes when you're on the podium, the focus or the goal may be, okay, I need to get from point A to point C today, and then tomorrow we can get into the nuances of creating these big teachable moments where we're breaking down the chord structure. But for the most part, just isolating them. Maybe say, okay, first and second trombone playing. Okay, let's add third. Now you see how that sound blend together. Because a lot of times with trombone players, sometimes when dissonant sounds do get to them because they're not used to hearing those notes on top of each other like that. So it's just a matter of just your teaching style and how you break it down and when, but understanding that this is something that's going to have to be a teachable moment.
Understood. Um, so this is the next question, which is actually on or from a high school director. It says, as a director who wants to start arranging for their own band, what process or steps should they take to get started and see results? What's the best software to use for someone making a financial investment?
Um, I'm a fan of Finale, but I know they don't make Finale anymore, so I don't use any of the other music software. I know there's MuseScore and there's this new thing out now as well. So I guess the best thing would be, I'm gonna be honest, to get the newest software, the latest software, because more than likely you got a kid in your band who's probably at home with the sample version of it anyway. So I think just keeping up with the whatever the latest technology is, that would be helpful. And if you're trying to get started with writing music, when I was in high school, my band director used to have me transcribe the music into Finale. So for me, that's how I started writing music. He would have me transcribe a song from paper to Finale, and then I would listen to it, and then I would eventually I started going on and listening to songs and trying to arrange them off of like different clips of YouTube myself until I started getting into my own. And then in 10th grade was when I passed out my first song, "Isn't She Lovely?" um, by Stevie Wonder. So to go back to the first question was about what to do with trying to get music integrated in your program. One, get with your school reps and try to get the latest software. And then if you're trying to write music, start off with transcribing possibly until you're more comfortable just going full fledged on your own. So I hope that answered the question. If the question was more in depth, let me know, please.
I think that was a pretty good and solid answer. I think that's what they needed to hear. Um, I This is a question I'm going to ask to both yourself and Mr. Alexander, because I know you guys. I mean, I just seen your story, Mr. or Dr. Pollard, where you were going over some of the things that you just or that you wrote for Texas Southern. How do you guys deal with writer's block? Is there a method in which you go to get out of it, or is it just something that you have to deal with that like everyone else does?
I think for the most part, most of the writer's block come from overthinking. I think sometimes, man, we get in our own way. I think it's really it may not be that simple for all, but for most times, man, I find that we just get in our own way. We'll spend a lot of time. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna like this. I don't know if people are gonna like this song or the band gonna like this song. So the best way to get out of writer's block, one every now and then, man, take a break from it. If you're at the computer and you find yourself it's an hour or two and you can't get nothing across, take you a break or listen to something completely different. So for me, my go-to is always jazz. If I'm writing something and I'm running out of ideas, I can't think of something on top of my head, I go and I listen to some jazz or I go do something completely different and come back to it. So for writer's block, man, I just encourage y'all, man, to just every now and then, man, it's okay to break. With this, even the grandest of music has a break in it, right? So just take a break and then get out your head. And sometimes get out your feelings too. Sometimes we write stuff and people don't like it, so we get discouraged. No, man, just keep writing, keep going.
Indeed. And Mr. Alexander, if you have anything to add on to that about your process when you're dealing with some writer's block.
I agree with him as he said. Take a break off it sometimes. Like we mentioned, Scared of the Dark. Scared of the Dark actually took me a year to write because I got the intro. Well, I got the body, the intro, the ending. Wait, I actually had the body and the ending together, but I didn't know how to start the song. So what I did, I took a year break from it, listened to the song again, like I said with the boys' mind too. Like, and a lot of times it is getting in your head too, because you feel like, oh, a lot of people expect certain things, so now you're trying to deliver. But a lot of times, what you need to do is just go listen to your hotspot or just go try listening to other songs. And now you found another song, and while you're waiting to finish one song, you found a new song, you write that song, you get it done. That gives you that morale boost. Like, yeah, I just finished a nice hot piece. Let me go listen to this other song, and in that time that you listen to something different, now you're finding new areas and just ways to make the song that you have lock on flow. So really, just go back to your happy space. Like mine, I like to go back to like theatrical music and stuff. Like that gets me moving. Sometimes change your element too. Like get yourself in a different mindset sometimes, because sometimes the mindset that you had going in on the song might change It might need to change for the back end of the song or something like that. But really, just a lot of the answer is just to take a break and come back to it.
Indeed.
Gotcha. So now, as we're getting ready to get into our final two questions, the final or the second to last question is, how do you write for power without sacrificing musicality or blend? And I know one of my favorite songs from Texas Southern was Princess Diana. And that was a song that I loved hearing, but you could still hear some of those musical parts in the song. And so I'm going to ask that Dr. Pollard start that off, and then Miss Alexander come in and sum that question up with with your expertise as well, because I also, one of my good friends can attest to this. I love pretty much anything that Texas Southern plays that you guys write. And they have those elements.
So for me, it's funny. You say Princess Diana. I wrote Princess Diana in a car on a Tuesday. The band was going to dinner, and one of the kids sent me the clip that was like, and if you listen to the actual song, some of the nuances in there, it wasn't in the song, but I borrowed it from something that I played that I wrote before but never passed out. So I was like, oh man, I could just take this. And then that's another thing I read. Sometimes, man, it's okay to borrow your own ideas or borrow other people's ideas, man. I tell people all the time, we don't own the rights to this thing called music. We all are here just doing the best that we can. I like a lot of people's stuff, and I listen to what a lot of people do. And if I like something, I find a way to make it my own. So don't be afraid, man, to push the envelope in that manner as well. Because sometimes, man, you'll find you'll find your creativity in other people. But going back to Princess Diana, the kids sent it to me. Like Mr. Antonio said earlier, it had like a little gritty kind of sound. It's a little head bopping, but it was like Sonata Allegro form, like ABA. It had an A section, a B section, and then another A section. So some of those little nuances in there, I just borrowed it from something I did, but didn't have the time to pass it out that year and wasn't going to pass it out. And then with the bass line, I heard tubas and sectionals playing C's already. Now, mind you, I never write that high for tubas. Some of the other directors do, and it goes off well, but for me, I just never wrote that high. So I'm like, I'm listening to them in sectionals that whole week. So I'm like, okay, y'all want to play C's. This is the year tubas want to play C's. Now, mind you, I always talk about bastardizing the instruments. I think C's is ridiculous. But also, you got as an arranger, sometimes you got to know your clientele too, and it's not always about you. And that's the other side of the coin that we need to realize. Sometimes you got to write stuff for the greater good of the program. So with Princess Diana, some of those things you heard was not really in the song, but it's things that still fit the content of the song without going too far left or taking away from the actual song itself. So what I did, as I told you, what I did was I just borrowed ideas. It's really that simple. And then I put some. I had the tubas. I highlighted the tubas, and then at some point I kind of had like a little riff with the baritones and mellophones kind of calling and responding a little bit, and the trombone stayed on calls. And then once I felt like I wanted to do something different, I gave them some syncopated rhythms. And that's kind of what I did with Princess Diana. But I literally wrote that when the band went on break for dinner on a Tuesday.
Gotcha. And Mike mentioned the specific song, Mr. Alexander, that you wrote. It would probably be in that regard. Uh, I can't. It's by Childish Gambino. I'm sorry, not. Yeah, I think that's who it's by. I just never remember the name of the song or the pronunciation. Um, but this particular, I want to say it's Yoshinoya is how you pronounce it. That particular song is a song that you could say is loud, but you still hear your musical elements, your thought process behind that, please.
It's funny, yeah. We just call that Yoshi. Yeah, it's a weird name, but it's funny because this is one thing I had to learn for myself. We forget that how loud musical instruments are on their own. Like if you go play your trumpet or your French horn or baritone, just even at mezzo piano in your college dormitory, you're probably gonna get reported. So a lot of times, I think a lot of people might forget just how naturally like projecting a lot of these instruments are. So if you use that and you're like, okay, this instrument could project in this range or that and stuff. You get to figure out like it's all with voicing too, because a lot of times like some instruments are just gonna be loud. Like a tuba on a C, there's no way you're covering that up. So the band could be going full, full image. You're gonna hear the tubas on the C. But also sometimes you gotta think about, you might put F horns on a D on the staff, but you got euphoniums playing B flats. Like you might have 70 F horns in your section and 15 euphoniums, and you got F horns on that D on the staff, but euphoniums just playing B flat. You're working against the horn. Now the horns got to work harder than they do. So voicing is a key spot in that actually. Like you don't want to do too much, or if you got a over dominating euphonium section, sometimes you just might have to back them down, change the range somewhere, or just add some harmony. So it's just a lot into just getting that stuff heard.
Gotcha. I'm here and I'm just writing this stuff down. My apologies. So this is the final question, and then we're going to get into the closing remarks. And it's a comprehensive question. As arrangers become more seasoned or even celebrated, how do you personally manage the tension between creative pride and program-centered humility? Furthermore, in what ways have you had to check your own ego in order to write what the band needs, even if it's not what showcases you the most as an arranger?
I want to give this question my full attention. But before I do that, can you please repeat it one more time? Because I want to make sure I answer the question in its entirety.
Gotcha. It says, as arrangers become more seasoned or even celebrated, how do you personally manage the tension between creative pride and program centered humility? Furthermore, in what ways have you had to check your own ego in order to write what the band needs, even if it's not what showcases you the most as an arranger?
Um, Again, and I don't want to offend anybody, but unless you just want to be an arranger, if you're a music major, so Mr. Alexander he's a rare specialty, right? Because he's not a music major, but he specializes in arranging music, right? But if you are a music major, if you can hear me, I 100% think that you need to get some teaching experience, because that eliminates a lot of just teaching is going to humble you in itself, because sometimes we may be the best at in our universities, our prospective schools, but there's nothing more humbling than going to a school where most of your kids are beginners and you got to get it out the mud. And so you can't even write all your elaborate stuff. Writing for a university band is almost like it's a cheat code, because you can all your great ideas, if you at a good university, you can write all of that stuff. Whereas I think some of the most creative arrangers are those guys at the high school level who gotta just try to get the melody across, but they only got three trumpets playing and one clarinet and two saxophones. But when you go to the football game, you got people still want to hear. If you're gonna play Cardi B, people still want to hear that melody. So I just think with being a good arranger, it comes with, unless again you have some guys who are just they're rare. I honestly believe that Mr. Alexander is one of those guys. He wasn't a music major, but I think he just has a high band IQ for a high music IQ for writing music. He just told you all a while ago that he didn't even take a theory class. So for him to put out the type of stuff that he's putting out, that ain't just his talent. That's from God too. Like he just has a God-given talent and the ears to produce the stuff that he's producing. But for my arrangers on here who inspire you to write the collegiate level, go ahead and get you some high school or middle or elementary experience teaching, so that you can understand the dynamics of how those instruments work, those different timbres, the practical range of the instrument, and how to troubleshoot issues when they happen. Because you may have a kid who playing extremely sharp on saxophone. How do you fix that? Or piccolo. How do you troubleshoot that? Because out of tune note is a wrong note. So you have all this elaborate stuff you write, but if it's out of tune, if the instruments are on playing in sync, then your great arrangement is just nothing but a finale showcase. So and the humbling thing sometimes writing when writing music is sometimes, as Mr. Alexander knows, you are charged with writing stuff you don't want to necessarily write. Um, like I remember, one time in particular, I wrote "Get It Sexy" for the field show for a dance routine. Well, man, listening to "Get It Sexy," I really felt like that was, I hate to use the word beneath me, but as a seasoned band director and arranger, I couldn't believe I was putting that on in finale. Like I literally couldn't believe I was writing "Get It Sexy." So that was a humbling moment for me. And sometimes you have to, again, as I stated before, do what's in the best interest of the students in the program, and eventually you'll get your time in the sun to shine. Everybody nowadays want to write for fifth quarter. Well, as Mr. Antonio said, like we still have zero, we still have game, we still have pre, or what is it required? We have game stuff. So that field show music. So there's a lot of opportunities to write if that's your desire.
Gotcha. And Mr. Alexander, your interpretation, if you need me to read the question again, because I know it's a comprehensive question, which is basically, as an arranger, how do you, we use this term here at Central, which is how do you get out of yourself and into the program to produce a quality arrangement for your program? And be that, getting out of any pride or in a potential ego that you may have in order to produce what the program needs from you.
I would say the easiest is kind of a nice, intricate question, but a simple answer. You really just got to do it sometimes. Like sometimes you do just got to write that song, or like at Texas Southern, I might be asked to do a specific type of song or a specific song in its entirety. I might not like the song, but I'm gonna have to sit there. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to make the song. Like honestly, you can kind of flip it to where they say you shouldn't be able to tell the song that the band likes and the band doesn't like. I feel like the same way for writing a song too. Like do what you need to do to make it a successful song. You just got to get out of your head because there are honestly some songs that I write that I didn't want to write, but I'm just like we need, as he said, we need "Get It Sexy." That's like one of the most popular songs of whatever era we're in. So you just got to really just you got to do it. Unfortunately.
Heard and understood. And I want to first, on behalf of AK Productions and Crank Systems, extend a heartfelt thank you to both of you guys for spending your time to come and speak and kind of provide some knowledge and insight into some student arrangers who, who knows, in some years they might be across the field from you guys. Um, and so I just wanted to thank you guys for that. And if you have any final remarks before, I close out, please, floor is yours.
Sure. I guess for me, for since we're talking to a lot of guys who with a strong desire to want to arrange and write music, man, just stay authentic to your sound, but in that process, still be flexible for the needs of the ensemble too. Because again, sometimes we get in our own way, man. Sometimes we can over season a really good meal. So again, be authentic, be who you are as an arranger, be as extravagant as you want to be, but also keep in mind that ultimately, when it comes to arranging, that is a job that you have to be open to not always doing what you want to do musically. Sometimes you may have to write that simple song and that may work for the band. Also, man, when you're writing music, just know your audience. Sometimes as a ranch, we all are guilty of that. We like to write what we feel in the moment, and sometimes it don't always go over as we wanted to go over with the particular audience we're playing for. So and that's both the band and the market. Sometimes again, if the band your band that you're writing for has a vibe they're going on all week and the band is turned up, sometimes you may have to sit on that Whitney Houston slow piece. Sometimes you may have to keep the energy level high with the band. Um, and never stop studying, man. Like this is really good what you all are doing. That's why I didn't mind coming on here. Um, Learn from not just arrangers, and also, man, look at some of these composers. Go look at some of these scores to these concert pieces or jazz pieces or whatever. And these intricate things y'all be hearing these symphonic and concert bands play. Well, I mean, music is just that. It's music. You can use that also in marching band. So listen to some of your favorite arrangers, some of your favorite college bands, and then just borrow ideas and create your own off of that. And then lastly, for me, as I told y'all before, man, writing music is an art, but it's also a service. You have to be willing to like service the people, the students that you have, or the clientele, or even the audience you have. For example, some stuff that you might write at Texas Southern, as great as it may be, it may not work at a Jackson State game, or it may not work at a Southern University game. So that's my spiel, man. I've enjoyed talking to you all. I'm always open for dialogue on this matter on social media. If you need my personal email or cell phone number, I don't mind sharing it with you all. Whatever I can do to help you all in the future. What little I know, I don't mind sharing for sure.
Thank you, kindly. And Mr. Alexander, anything before we wrap it up?
No, Dr. Paula actually said a lot of the good things. I would just say the thing I would jump on the most to is just always keep studying. Never feel like you plateau. Never feel that way. Don't feel like you're just the best thing out there. Always ask like we as staff at Texas Southern ask each other questions all the time. So just there's always an opportunity to grow, So just keep asking questions. As he said, reach out. You can reach out to me as well. If I get a second, I always listen to everyone's arrangements as much as possible. A lot of people have started sending in things, and so I still got stuff going on. But send it in, ask a question, or if you have a song that I wrote and you want to know, like, hey, why did you do that or how did you do that? Don't be afraid to ask. I'll answer. I don't have anything to hide, so I don't mind helping out people.
For sure.
Thank you. Thank you both. I will make sure to provide that. If anybody has the request, I will send a follow up email following this event to ensure that if you want that, then you can get that information. I want to also just inform everyone that because this was more so tailored to wind instruments, there will be a percussion tailored one. More so, I want to say shooting for December, and this will not only be, I hate to use these terminologies, but swag percussion and miak percussion, because while they're not too different, they are very different in some of the instruments that you have, tonal basses and drop basses and all of that stuff. So there will be a percussion iteration and edition of this very clinic coming soon. Stay tuned for that information. Thank you guys for coming out and listening to these educated men on this topic. It is imperative that we raise up a generation of arrangers that are intentional and aware of what they're doing all the time, and not just putting anything out for these band programs to play, because it may sound good, but is it helping you musically when you don't know what you're reading? Um, so I want to thank everyone for coming out. I want to again thank Dr. Pollard and Mr. Alexander for your time. I want to thank the collegiate high school and high school directors. I want to thank the students of both colleges and the high schools. And there's also some middle school students here. So I want to thank you guys for coming out. If you want any further information on anything having to do with some of these workshops, feel free to follow, 8K Productions. That's where I post my arrangements. Not often, but when I feel like it's worthy of being posted, and it'll be posted in Crank System, is which just a lot of information comes out of Crank System. I know they might not be here, but I also want to thank Smash Time, A1 Media, and Band Talk XLM for posting the flyer and getting that out there. And I also just want to extend the thanks to Mr. Deontay Kennedy, who was supposed to be here, but actually is on vacation and couldn't make it on today. However, going forward, we may see that he, pops through at some point for another event. We just wanted to accommodate the fact that he was on vacation on today. Um,
And in closing, guys, I saw they had some questions in the message. If you all have any questions that you want to ask me, you can send them directly to me on social media, Instagram if you want to, at Javon Ford, or you can send them to me by email, or you can call me. I mean, whatever I can do, or whatever unanswered questions you all have, I'll make myself available today. I have a pretty early flight. I have a band camp that I'm doing tomorrow in San Diego. So if anybody's in the San Diego area, close area, holla at me. But I really enjoyed this, man. So Yo to the nukes on here, AA to any brothers of side, and all hail to all the members of Family Alpha. So thank you all again.
Thank you, and you guys take care. Have a wonderful evening, and also please DM myself at dnr.trend or Crank System if there's a somewhat of a battle going on in another Zoom. As soon as this is over, just feel free to DM either one of us if you want to partake. It's zero quarter style, so do with that information what you will and govern yourselves accordingly.
For those who all would good evening. My name is Gregory Hand. I'm the owner slash creator of this here band page Crank System on Instagram. If anybody would like to be a part of the zero quarter style arrangers workshop festivities, DM me or Trend. We will happily get you taken care of. So other than that, peace and blessings. Y'all have a great, wonderful day.